This is the site induction for the coffee shop fit-out projects. The site working times will be 8 till 6 Monday to Friday and 8 until 1 on Saturdays. If you require to work Saturday afternoons, Sundays or bank holiday Mondays, they will need to be agreed in advance with the site project management team. On attending the site, you must report to the site manager so that they can add you to the site register. The site manager should be the only person that uses this document under the current COVID-19 guidance. Site information. We're going to give you some general information about the site locations on site and some of the facilities that we've been allocated, but the main information will be given to you when you arrive on site for your first day of work. So on the left hand photo we have the small shop circled in orange. This is our top site area. Next to it, circled in green, is the toilets that we've been allocated in the toilet block. This is at the top of the site near to the main site entrance. The blue circle in this photo is the entrance and exit into the service road and the ring road around the park from this location. The right hand photo shows the Duplo shop. This is going to be our second site, and this is also known as the bottom site. Behind it, circled in green, is a toilet block. This toilet block is allocated to us at the moment, and this will be in use until the park reopens to the public. And then again, circled in blue, shows the entrance and exit to the service road. This takes you down to the back of the hotel and out onto the main ring road around the site again. Fire and fire alarms. Each building has a zoned hardwired fire alarm installed. Even though there will be local isolations, the break glasses will still sound the alarm. In the construction area, there will be extinguishers positioned in each room. The assembly point is at the security lodge unless instructed otherwise. The signing in book needs to be used to account for all staff. The site managers will be covering the first aid. So James Whiterod, Alan Quelch and Stuart Wood will all be classed as first aiders on site. If you need any additional assistance, there is a number here for the Legoland First Aid, which is accessed via the security hut or via this phone number. If you need any of the A&E services, the nearest hospital with A&E provision is Wexham Park Hospital over in Slough. Or if you need an ambulance, you need to know the postcode of SL44AY and the location to be able to arrange an ambulance to come to site. Risk assessments and method statements. All tasks have specific RAMs. All operatives should read and understand the document. You will be asked to sign at the bottom of the document, so if you don't understand it or think it should be changed in any way, please speak to the site manager. Reporting of accidents and near misses on site. All accidents or near misses, no matter how small they are, should be reported to the site manager. Near miss cards can be found in the site office. This is the template that's been shown in front of you here. They're really basic to fill in, or you can give us any safety suggestions where you think that we can improve anything on site. Accident forms will be completed by the site manager, so once you've reported to him that you've had an accident, he will run through the accident report form and complete it for you. COVID-19, face coverings must be worn indoors where there is more than one person in the space. Wash hands on arrival to site every day. If you're working inside of the social distancing 2 meters, additional measures will be required, PPE. This can be for no longer than 15 minutes for a complete day's duration. Welfare will be restricted depending on the size of the space. This may mean staggered break times to avoid congregating in groups. You may have to take your breaks in your own vehicle if there isn't adequate space to have everyone in the welfare at once. Cleaning of touch points and toilets and welfare spaces should be done by the user, so flushes, handles, tables, chairs, all of those types of things that you're touching, you are responsible for cleaning. The welfare needs to be clear of night time for cleaning, so take your stuff home each night. Power tools on site should be 110 volts or lower. Battery powered is preferred because it removes the cable trip hazards. 240 volt tools can be used, but they must have a 30 milliamp RCD. This can only be tools that aren't available in a lower voltage that can be bought in at 240 volts. All tools and equipment must be PAT tested and be able to demonstrate that that test has been done. Noise assessments will be completed on site. If we're reaching a noise of over 80 decibels, we will take additional measures to make sure that we're reducing our exposure to the people on site. If we reach 85 decibels, 85 is our stop working limit, where we will reduce the exposure back down under the 80 decibel limit using hearing protection. Dust from working processes. Collective measures should be used wherever possible, and especially during the demolition phase. PPE is still required for the operative operating the tool at the time. A P3 filter is the standard on the mask that is required during the demolition and any other phase of the build. Vehicles, plant and pedestrians. Cars, vans and lorries have shared use of the same access routes as us, so please be mindful of their movements as well as your own on the access routes that we've been allocated. Staff and visitors will also be travelling around the park. They may be pedestrians, they may be in golf buggies or other vehicles travelling around site, so please just be mindful of your own movements, and if you are a pedestrian, the other vehicles that are sharing the spaces that you're walking in. Housekeeping and disposal of rubbish on site. We'll have a skip in the external compound. Waste should be sorted into streams to be better recycled by the waste carrier. Where possible, we should be using vacuums to hoover up dust rather than sweeping. This is just to stop the generation of dust becoming airborne in the site, but just remember that a tidy site is a safe site. PPE on site. High-vis vest, safety boots and hard hat should be worn at all times. We have a minimum standard for boots, and also no bump caps are allowed on site. All other PPE is task specific and will be detailed in your RAMs. Cost materials on site should come with a material safety data sheet and a cost assessment. In that cost assessment and on the material safety data sheet, it will list what PPE is required, what firefighting equipment is required, if there's any specialist first aid equipment, how you dispose of the waste, and spill protection. Spill protection is done in volume, so it's done in litres. If you have 100 litres of a material on site, you would need to have a 100 litre spill kit on site to be able to mop up everything should you have a catastrophic spill of all of your equipment. Step ladder standards for our site. We will only be accepting class 1 or EM131. We don't accept any domestic steps class 3 on site because they're not of a construction grade. Non-conductive steps for electrical work, so the fiberglass ladders that are shown down at the bottom. We don't expect to see any standing on top steps. Most ladders these days are marked up with the 2 top steps saying not to be used. So you should have at least 3 steps above where you're 2 steps above where you're working, but be on the 3rd step from the top when you are actually using the step ladder. This should be for short duration tasks only, and you should be standing in the direction of the steps. You shouldn't be standing sideways. This just aids the ability for the steps to turn over whilst you're using them. Scaffold towers or podiums should be used for longer duration working at height tasks. So if you do have anything that's a long duration task, this is the type of equipment that you should be using instead. You need to be PASMA trained or an equivalent to build the tower, and it must be tagged and inspected on a weekly basis or after it's reassembled. So if you move it from one room to another, you have to strike it and rebuild it, then you must sign the tag again once you have positioned it and checked it and made it safe for use. Site rules. You must let the site manager know you are on site. Vehicles can only be left in the allocated parking bays or in the staff car park. Smoking only in the designated point and strictly nowhere else. You must understand your company's method statement and risk assessment. A permit to work is required for high risk activities including working on electrical systems. PPE must be worn at all times. Keep the site area tidy. Do not block fire exits. Do not leave combustible materials laying around. Any spills must be cleared immediately. No disposal of any substances to drains. Observe all signage around site. Minimise noise. No offensive behaviour or horseplay. Face coverings must be worn inside. Social distancing must be observed at all times. Be prepared to be inspected by Legoland Windsor, PCA Safety or the HSE at any time.